Apple is now facing up to a life without Steve Jobs. What will it look like? For the answers, we turn to two of the foremost authorities on Jobs and his role at the company. Kahney is the author of Inside Steve's Brain, among other titles. He's also with The Cult of Mac. And Jay Elliott is the author of The Steve Jobs Way. He served as senior vice president of Apple Computer and reported directly to Steve Jobs. During his tenure at Apple, sales grew from $150 million to more than $3 billion. Gentlemen, welcome to Bloomberg West. So glad to have both of you, after hearing this really incredible news. Jay, I want to start with you. You can't talk about the future without looking back a little bit at the past. What was it like to work for Steve Jobs? What was the single most unique thing about him?
I think it's his energy and his passion, the ability that he wanted to build the greatest product ever built, and he just had this amazing day-to-day. It's amazing to me, it's 35 years since then, now, he still has it. I mean, he still walks on stage and still has that same passion. It's unbelievable.
And Leander, in writing your book, you spoke to so many different people who worked at Apple. Would they echo that?
Oh, definitely, yeah. And it's a big part of motivating the workforce within Apple. I mean, he has a fearsome temper, and everyone talks about him losing his rag with people, but it's, I think, the charisma and the desire of people to please him, to show him something delightful that motivates more.
And I want to talk a little bit about that. Jay, did he lead with an iron fist? I mean, are all of those kind of legendary stories true?
Not really. That's one of the reasons I wrote my book, is because I wanted to show an inside view of somebody who worked for him directly. Steve has a passion. He wants the product. It's about the product, and he wants it done. He wants it done with this incredibly product at the end of the day, and he doesn't want to put up with it if it's not going to be right. And he wants you to be as bought into that as he is.
Yet there is this kind of culture of fear that we hear about at Apple, right? Leander, we were talking about this a little bit earlier.
Well, everyone I talked to had a Steve Jobs screamed in my face story. But as Jay says, I think it's not personal. There's an obstacle that's got to be overcome. He screams and he expects them to forget about it.
Now, talking about the future, who are going to be the most important leaders there now that he is no longer CEO?
Well, obviously, Tim Cook and his team. I mean, the group that has to lead it, they're in the place now to do it. I mean, they've been handed off to them. Tim is a good guy, and I think they will do well.
We were also talking about Jonathan Ive as well.
Yeah, key part of the team. Scott Forstall.
What about the whole kind of secretive, the mystery that surrounds Apple? Is that going to continue under Tim Cook?
Well, absolutely. I believe that they're a hot retail company. Retail companies have to protect their products and their positions of where they're going to go with things, and I think Apple will continue to protect it. In the old days, it wasn't that way. As they said, Apple was like a leaky ship, but it leaked from the top, and everything was very open in those days. But it changed. When you get this hot into retail market, you got to protect yourself.
Now, Leander, obviously the big question is, can Apple continue to be Apple without Steve Jobs?
Yeah, that's an open question, but I think so. I'm pretty optimistic that it will be, because he's embedded his DNA so firmly into that company that I think it'll continue to function as though he was still there.
You mentioned earlier that he's kind of like an orchestra conductor.
Right. Yeah. He doesn't write the code or design the products. He doesn't do the marketing, but he orchestrates the whole thing. He's like the conductor that makes sure that it coordinates all the work and rejects or accepts the work that other people bring to him.
Jay, what will change without him at Apple?
He can't be replaced. So this incredible vision, this incredible looking down the road at the path where it's going to go is lost. And that's basically lost to all of us, theoretically. That's not going to change. They're going to go down a road. The vision is laid out. I remember seeing him at a speech he made in the early 2000s, and they're still on that vision. So the vision's laid out. They're going to execute it. But what they have to be concerned about, what I'm concerned about Apple's future way down the road, is what's their next vision going to be? And that's going to be the interesting challenge they're going to have.
Leander, what's going to be Tim Cook's first big test? And he also is known to be a kind of a fearful guy to a certain extent.
He's a bit scary,
right?
too, yeah. People are scared of him. And he definitely makes the trains run on time, just the way Steve likes it.
But what's going to be his first big test?
I think probably the first big product introduction. He is not going to be able to do the same kind of extraordinary theater that Steve did with the product introductions. It's not going to be the same. So it'll be interesting to see whether he tries to emulate that, tries to be a sort of second-rate Steve Jobs, or does something altogether different.
It'll be interesting to see. Everyone will be watching. Apple worshippers around the world. Leander Kahney and Jay Elliott, authors of books about Steve Jobs. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us here.
You're welcome.